part 12 of telling my life story on here because it's so much easier than writing another book. And we are in Hawaii, and I just went through those two horrendous ordeals where I'm basically kidnapped twice. And I am just back out working the track, and scared out of my mind now. Like, I'm not functioning the same because once you get kidnapped by a trick, it kind of like messes with your head a little. And then when your pimp does the same to punish you, you're like not really wanting to go with people, like, obviously. And so I had also done some recruiting, meaning I brought in other girls, other wifeys, and it's just part of the game. And I had brought in this young black gal. She had the cutest little two pom-poms that she always wore on the back of her head, and she was just fucking adorable. And her quota was always $600 a day, and mine was $1,000. And this was one of my first lessons in racism, in that people are just valued differently based solely on how we look. And it was so fucked up to me, but he was just like, this is how it is. And the night, I'm going to tell this briefly because it's social media and it's really intense. The night that I did not make my quota, I came back into the same room, 28th floor. It was the Outrigger Hobron. It wasn't the Ilikai. Could have been. I don't know. Shit. I could spot it on the map. It's the one that has 3 wings. We're on the 28th floor. And he told me to go sit in the other room, and he had the living room lined in plastic. And I sat on the bed and I watched the sun rise as I heard him break so many bones. She did not live. And he got in my face, covered in her stuff. And he said, this is all your fault. If you had made enough money, this wouldn't have happened to her. And I've told this story 1,000 times, and I've forgiven myself because it wasn't me. I didn't do it. But sometimes the scars that we wear, sometimes the pain we carry isn't something we carry. We don't carry it on our body. We carry it in our body. And her life mattered just as much as mine. Her life mattered. And that is the most fucked up thing in the world. I can't think of anything more fucked up. She has a family somewhere. She mattered, and I brought her in. It did something to me. I wasn't the same after that. I will never be the same after that. We ended up leaving Hawaii because it was just, things weren't the same. I couldn't work the same. I made my money, but I wasn't making, my quota was 1,000, but I was pulling generally between 5,000 and 10,000 at least a night. And I had gotten arrested over there too. This was the one criminal charge that I have, is that over there, the law enforcement can do the full deed with you, and then they use the condom as evidence against you. And I went to jail under Joanna's name, and I don't know what happened. He said he paid off the judge. It's still on my record. This all comes around later. But I was still a minor, legally, but my fake ID said I was 22. And they just booked me. I got out a few days later when the court hearing happened, and we left. And that was that. We ended up going back to the West Coast and then back up to Seattle, because that was where he had some cousin or nephew or uncle or homie or someone that had a service up there. And he's like, we can just go up there and you can work the hotels again. You can work the track during the day. You can work the hotels. And my heart wasn't in it the same way. We worked for a little bit in Seattle, and then he decided to send me up to Vancouver, BC on my own, which was something that he never normally did. And I didn't find out till later. There was a lot more behind the story. But he sent me up to Canada to work alone. And he explained everything to me. It's like, you go up, you get a cabbie, you pay them, you tip them extra, and they take you to and from the track to your hotel, and everything will be fine. He's like, you can just wire me money every day, and Western Union, and it all works out. And so it felt good because I had a little bit more freedom, which I hadn't had, but I also had never been to Canada and didn't really know, normally he prepped me a lot for how the track worked, and he prepped me, but I wasn't as prepared. So in Vancouver, there was real specific areas that you could work, but I didn't know that. There were certain gangs and organized crime that took different areas, but I didn't fully know that. And so I had only worked a day or two before I get out of this Trix car. And as I open the door, these girls pull me out by my hair, and I got jumped. I got jumped so hard. I, again, don't know what happened. Last thing I remember was getting out of his car and them grabbing my hair, and then waking up in the hospital 3 days later again. 3 is my life number, and it's shown up in weird ways. The cabbie actually was with me. He had checked on me on and off every day. He saw it happen. I basically got jumped by 4 or 5 girls. I had stiletto marks all the way through my hair. My nose was shattered. My cheekbones, everything was fractured. They had stomped my head. And I had been in a coma for 3 days. My face was completely purple and flat. It was the most grotesque thing you had ever seen. I didn't think I would ever go back. And I do still have, the bridge of my nose has been broken quite a few times and never been fixed. But my face healed up pretty well. And I was just in the hospital. I called Martin, and he's like, just come back. And I was like, okay, because I couldn't work at that point. My face was, it was not okay. And I couldn't work. And I went back, and going through the border, I had this hope that that someone would help me, that maybe the Border Patrol would help me, because I looked crazy. So I was like, maybe they could be the ones that would help me out. And when I got to the Border Patrol, I had great big sunglasses on. He had me take my glasses off, and he literally just spat at me. He was just like, go. And I knew exactly how the world felt about people like me. And I knew at that moment that if I was ever going to find freedom, it would be on my own. I would have to figure it out myself. And I ended up meeting a gal many years later that also worked that same area. And I learned so much. But that's going to have to come in the next video. So we'll talk to you in a minute. Bye.